Is it a glossy image, or it's rather scary and very corrosive? Joining me this morning is the permanent representative to the United Nations, Adonia Ayebare, who happens to be a minister designate. Is that title still obtaining?
Oh, it's still on the table, my friend.
Still on the table?
Yeah, still. You have to be ready to call me honorable one of these days. Eh?
How much hope do you still harbor that you will get it?
100%.
Well, good to have you and a very good morning. There is a lot that's been trending about Uganda. First, there is that euphoria about Olara Otunu's bid. Is there a cause for Uganda to fuss about this as Olara Otunu makes a bid to be Secretary General of the United Nations?
Thank you, Kagwa, for having me this morning. Let me first of all talk about Olara Otunu. Olara Otunu is one of my mentors. When I joined diplomacy, Otunu had been a legend. He had served Uganda as ambassador at the UN. He had served as the foreign minister of Uganda. He had served the UN as under secretary general in many capacities. So we have a legend in the name of Olara Otunu. And his candidature is really a game changer and is welcome news, not only for Uganda and Africa, but for the whole world.
Well, it's not the first time that Uganda is trying to make inroads into the big seats. There was a time we had Kaziwe for the AU job, and still it was the same hysteria and excitement. It flopped, despite a lot of money that was invested. What gives us the guarantee that Otunu is the man to watch?
Let me tell you, you go in, of course, in a race to win, but also you go in a race to present a vision to the rest of the world on what you will do, not only for Uganda and Africa, but for the global community. In the case of Olara Otunu, his CV speaks for itself. It's a very impressive CV, but the process of selecting the Secretary General of the UN is very complex.
I think you need to take us through the rigors of the process, because apparently there are 5 others?
There are 6.
6?
Yeah.
6 other candidates.
And he's the 7th.
Who started campaigning way earlier. And we too little, too late. And first, what would it take?
No, it's not late. Actually, it's early. You know, sometimes, you know, there is at the UN when we are selecting, it's not election, selecting the Secretary General, there is always a curse of the early bird. You know, it's actually candidates that come in late that actually stand a chance. And the advantage with the candidature of Olara Otunu is that he is been out of circulation for some time. He's not tainted by the current geopolitics. You know, he's not been under scrutiny. So there is a fresh look. He has freshness on him, in a sense. Then we go through the process of selecting the Secretary General. Selecting the Secretary General is a very rigorous process that begins with the candidate declaring the vision, which Olara has, and the country submitting his candidature to the UN, which we have done in record time. The moment we were notified within 24 hours, he was already submitted and acknowledged by the 2 presidents of the UN General Assembly and the UN Security Council. Now he is technically a candidate. So now what will follow, he has to go through, of recent, in the last few years actually, as the chair of the non-aligned movement on behalf of Uganda, we kind of tried to inject transparency in the process by candidates appearing before town halls of the General Assembly, where they talked all member states and present their vision. He has to go through that, and also he has to interact informally with the UN Security Council. But tomorrow, as early as tomorrow, he will be subjected to what we call a straw poll in the Security Council. The Security Council, as you know, the Security Council is the one that really selects the next Secretary General of the UN. They will do a straw poll on each candidate to see where he stands or she stands. So he will be subjected to a vote already as early as tomorrow.
Well, he's been endorsed at home, which was actually a very big surprise. The same government that thwarted his bid then has now made a change of heart.
We are not frozen in time. We are not frozen in that time. Things have changed. People have had conversations. And Otunu is really a senior citizen in Uganda that is contributing to national development. And let's not look at the past. Let's look at now. And I think we should give credit to His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni for forwarding his candidature. And Otunu is a world citizen as well. He lived most of the time abroad, really serving humanity. And I think we should really thank President Yoweri Museveni for his pragmatism and for his vision of forwarding the candidature of Olala.
Yeah, but even though we thank, we can never forget that he denied him chance then. What explains the change of heart?
It's more complex. I've been a student of international politics. It was more complex than that. It was more complex. We'll have another interview on that, but let's be positive and focus on what is going on now.
Well, when you look at the odds, what is for or against him in terms of odds?
Let me start with what is for him. I think what is for him is his experience and his, not only perceived real neutrality. I think he served the UN at a time when the UN was the UN. The UN has kind of pivoted from its core mandate of, ending conflicts, of its humanitarian role, to politics, which has kind of derailed it with the current geopolitics. I think he comes from the school that really values the UN role being at the center of ending conflicts. I think we need the UN that is at the table of all the global issues. And I think Olala is that candidate that will bring back the UN to the center of being at the center of solving pressing global issues.
And what is how about the factor of age? Isn't it working against him?
Look at the current Secretary General. He's not a particularly young man. I think it's not age. It's what he brings on the table. It's what he brings on the table. And I've heard people say that it's not even a turn of Africa. No. I think the formula of regional rotation was thrown upside down in the last selection of the last Secretary General. The only region that has not had a candidate, Kagwa, that could claim that they have not had a Secretary General is Eastern Europe. But that was again pushed aside, and every region is free and every country for the candidate.
How much or how intense is the lobbying, and who is behind this?
I'm the current Ugandan ambassador at the UN, as you can imagine. I'm initially at the sharp end of the lobbying, and as I said, we have really done an impressive job in putting in lodging his candidates to the UN in record time of few hours, and I'm already engaging countries. I'm engaging the President of the UN General Assembly, the President of the UN Security Council, to really make sure that the process does not disadvantage him, that he is tomorrow on the straw poll, and we are trying with, of course, the travel difficulties to deal with the border to make sure that he's in New York as soon as possible, so that he can start interacting with countries. But even before he goes to New York, this week, today he will address the press, and he will start meeting countries on the UN Security Council that have diplomatic missions in Kampala.
What is in his bid for Uganda? Why would I be concerned?
You should be very excited that when we have a Secretary General being a Ugandan, when the Secretary General is the face of diplomacy in the world. When they mention Secretary General and the next sentence is from Uganda, it's a great advertisement for the country. It's soft power, it's not hard power. But I must also have a caveat that the Secretary General will not be serving Uganda, will be serving the UN Charter. Article 100 of the UN Charter makes the Secretary General an international civil servant and does not take orders even from his country. So, although...
We had him as Under Secretary General, so what?
Yeah, but he was not Secretary General.
Yes,
but
they would still mention it's from Uganda.
Yeah, but he really did a lot for Uganda when it came to children in armed conflict. His normative role, which we are still using. Also, when he was on the Security Council, the straw poll I'm talking about tomorrow was the Otunu formula, still referred as the Otunu formula then. So he has contributed to the global politics, to the global norm formation, and Uganda is besides his name. So the country benefits by having one of us in such an international jobs.
Why is it popping late. I mean, the process started way back. It's been months, and several candidates have been going all over the place, throwing in their bid. Why is Otunu late?
I think it's a brilliant strategy to first observe the field. I think the field, my analysis is that the field is still open. There is no clear front runner. Let's see how the straw polls go, beginning tomorrow, and then until October, when the selections are supposed to take place in the Security Council. I think it's not too late. I think the only problem we have is the travel restrictions, but we are going to talk to our American colleagues to make sure that he finds his way to New York to start talking to countries. I am very sure that he has already caused excitement, not only in Uganda, but also internationally. He is a great candidate, and I'm sure, and we are talking to countries to give him a hearing.
Well, Uganda stands in a very awkward position when it comes to relations with the UN, especially given that we are more inclined towards the non-aligned movement. Isn't that costly to the country?
No, actually the non-aligned movement is the majority of the countries at the UN, 121. Actually, it's a great platform. And non-aligned movement as a concept has changed. Don't look at it from the Cold War perspective, where we were doing when in the context of power politics. Now, actually, non-aligned movement is strategic. You are non-aligned. You are actually not non-aligned. You are strategically aligned. Where your interests take you.
You remain non-aligned.
Yeah. You are remained non-aligned, and it's really a good position to be when you are non-aligned. You can deal with.
No, I think that puts us in conflict with the UN.
No, not with the UN. Non-alignedness is part of the UN.
I know.
Yeah, it's part of the UN.
It's more of the opposition wing of the UN.
No. Power politics is dead, okay? Where you had the Cold War, you had the Soviet Union and the US. Now what you have actually is multipolarism. You have many powers. It's no longer two powers. You have many powers. And what Uganda, being the chair of non-aligned movement, actually moderates international politics, where countries can be free to choose whichever side they want without being mistaken of being in either camp.
So how does Uganda look like as Otunu makes his bid?
Uganda looks great.
EU has already castigated us for breach of human rights. The US is having reservations about Uganda. And these are the big powers that control stakes in elections.
I don't know where you're getting. We have an excellent relations with the European Union. We have celebrated 50 years of diplomatic relations with the European Union. And we are engaging. They are the largest they are the largest contributor to Uganda's economy. They are the largest fund of our development. Diplomatically, we have excellent relationship. The U.S., I think the U.S., where we are now is the United States of America.
We've had this debate before. You had what the EU Parliament raised about the state of rights in Uganda.
The EU Parliaments have no business commenting about our foreign policy. We deal with the EU Commission. Those are the ones in charge of our diplomatic relations. The EU Parliament is a parliament. Not that I'm dismissing them, but they have no business dealing with our foreign relations.
No, it's the parliament that plays oversight on the commission.
No, but they are not in charge of foreign policy. You need to study how the European Union system works. But let me go to the US. We have never had an excellent relationship with the US like we have now. Economically, we are doing commercial deals that are out of the roof. We've just signed with Boeing a deal to supply Uganda Airlines with aircrafts worth $700 million. Starlink's cutting-edge internet company belonging to Elon Musk is supposed to launch internet in Uganda very soon. And we are also dealing with them on regional issues, on Somalia, on the Democratic Republic of Congo, and we are respected in Washington. And our relationship is really in a good place.
I find it odd that you say we are in good books with the US, yet Uganda was listed among the countries on the travel advisory where the US says, don't go.
Yeah, because of Ebola.
No, it's not majorly because of Ebola.
No. Have you read?
Yeah, I read the statement.
Have you read the tweet from the US Embassy in Kampala? they clearly state that it's due to Ebola. All those things of terrorism, were there.
Uganda was blacklisted. Do you agree?
No, it was not. And that's the misconception. And listen to me, that was a misconception which we need to deal with. When you go before Ebola, Uganda was on a level 2. Yet still, tourism, terrorism, criminality were one of the factors. When Ebola came into play, we were put on level 5. But let me tell you the good news. With Uganda being declared Ebola-free yesterday, based on science and common sense, we are going to move on and talk to not only the US, but other countries that have imposed travel restrictions.
The reasons that were listed in the US brief do not include Ebola.
They do.
It's about terrorism.
No, global health, which is Ebola. Terrorism have always been there. They have their variables, which, look at Kenya. Go on the travel advisor on Kenya.
Kenya was never listed.
No, Kenya, which is not listed. Those are there. I can tell you, and you can cross-check it with the US embassy here, it's due to Ebola. And we're working. The good news is that in the next coming weeks, you're going to see the good news. We are going to involve the US and others in a discussion that leads to lifting of all.
Do you realize that this was quite devastating and it was telling of what the US thinks of Uganda?
No. We work with the US when it comes to global health. I mean, they know our capacity to deal with Ebola. It's an unfortunate situation.
It's not about Ebola.
When Ebola, there were imported cases, it's about Ebola. And I think you need to really clear this. It's important that you are raising it. It was due to Ebola. Because you look at when Ebola broke out in the Democratic Republic of Congo, our neighbors, we had imported cases here. And there was worry that given that our border is porous, the policymakers in Washington and other capitals felt that out of caution, they needed to prevent travel from Uganda, DRC, and South Sudan. The epicenter of Ebola, when you look at the geography, is in the Ituri area of Congo, which neighbors Uganda. And that was the reason. But the good news is, the 42 days since we last had a community spread case are gone, and Uganda has been declared Ebola-free. So our job now is to engage those countries to look positively at what Uganda... Even, let me tell you what Uganda has done to the Ebola. The nomenclature and the terminology used in the Ebola fight is from Uganda. Even the 42 days.
Okay.
I
want to understand this.
Yeah.
A travel advisory is slapped on Uganda and DRC is spared. We are at level 4 among the countries that have been blacklisted.
DRC is on it. Actually, now DRC, in the last few weeks, has even gone further. That even Americans are not allowed to travel back home from DRC. Okay? So DRC is on another level. DRC is the epicenter. But for Uganda, we are on level 4 because of there was a fear that Ebola would spread from DRC to Uganda and community spread in Uganda. That didn't happen.
Is there Ebola in Yemen and other countries that were blacklisted?
Yeah, but
we were bundled with
because
countries.
For different other reasons, other countries, they don't have a uniform. You need to... I think the issue of travel advisories will have to have a show on its own. But what I can tell you, and it's from authority, you need to listen to me, and I've talked to the Americans about why they did that, and it's due to Ebola. Don't insert politics, don't insert propaganda, let's be factual. It was because of Ebola.
No, they cited reasons.
No.
And there is trafficking, Ebola, terrorism.
But can you go back? When Uganda was on level 2, those were there. Were they not? Mm-hmm. How come we were on level 2 and we're not on level 4?
Crime,
No.
Crime, health, terrorism, and unrest.
Health.
Help me unpack this. Crime.
We emphasize on health.
Why health alone?
Ebola.
Okay, Ebola, granted.
Yeah.
Crime?
No, crime, there is always, when you go to, even in the US, there is always petty crime everywhere. You have to we warn our citizens wherever they go to make sure that you don't fall victim of pickpockets,
No, those are advisories, but now it's level 4.
Level 4.
So what does level 4 mean?
What level 4? When they added Ebola, I mean, Ebola is a very public health concern of critical value. The US was worried. Their worry was best that there was a possibility of community spread, like it happened in West Africa. That was the scenario they were preventing. It was preventative, but now the facts are changing.
Okay, look at the countries that were listed.
That is
where Uganda comes at the bottom.
Don't sensationalize that.
We are not sensationalizing.
You are.
Look, and Afghanistan, there's no Ebola in Afghanistan.
No.
Belarus.
But Uganda, you think Uganda is like Belarus?
Sudan. Show me Congo.
Where do
there's no Congo.
There is South Sudan is there.
Yes.
DRC. You don't.
Okay. Yes.
Your glasses are not working.
Right. Yes.
That DRC is there.
Yes. There is DRC.
There is DRC. You agree?
I agree.
So let me tell you the story. Let me tell you the story. Why Uganda is on that list is because there was fear that Ebola cases, given our porous border, which we have managed properly, and kudos to our Minister of Health colleagues that have managed to do strict surveillance. There was worry that cases, Congolese will end up, and there will be community spread in Uganda. And that stage it will be too late for the cases will find their way to the US and other countries. That was what informed this. And you should take it to the bank. And let me tell you, the good news is that with what happened yesterday, and with our excellent relationship with the US, we are going to have an intensive dialogue. By mid-August, I can tell you, things will start changing. You will see these advisories being lifted on Uganda.
Did you find this quite shocking that Uganda is among the 22 countries where they say, do not travel?
I don't find it shocking because I know the reasons.
No, we've suffered travel sanctions before.
I know the reasons. I know the reasons because it's Ebola. And we have had it, and the Americans are part of the effort to fight, to help us build our health systems, to help us fight epidemics. Okay? So the reason is very clear. And I mean, with what happened yesterday, in the coming days we are going to see
I think you're burying your head in the sand.
No.
The US has cited crime.
No.
Terrorism.
No.
Health is just one of them.
Listen to me.
Have you taken time to digest the basis?
Yeah, I have taken time. In the difference between me and you is that I did in the real world. You did in the abstract world of face value stuff like this. We have engaged the Americans. They have told us why we are on level 4 and what should be done. And most of it is already done. Uganda now is Ebola free. The next stage is to really discuss with our partners, including the US, to lift those travel
You're a practitioner of diplomacy.
Absolutely.
At what level does a country get to level 4 declaration?
First of all, level 4 declaration is the Americans have their reasons. And in our case, their reasons was Ebola. I mean, you can imagine one case during the World Cup in the US ending up there. We understand their reasons, and we have worked together to address that. And I can tell you that we are at the tail end of these advisories ending.
Okay. What kind of negotiations are underway to bring us to at least level 2?
I mean, we're on level 2 before.
Yes, we were on level 2.
We're on level 2.
It was heightened to level 4.
Yeah, what discussions we are holding is to make sure that, there is no Ebola in Uganda, which has happened. There is no community. There was what about community spread in Uganda, which has not happened. And I think we should really thank our colleagues from the Ministry of Health for a job well done. And also our international partners, WHO, the US government has really helped us. Now the challenge is with DRC, our neighbors.
I don't think an epidemic can get us on the list.
Of course.
That would be extreme.
Not extreme.
You're not addressing the critical issues that were raised.
Those are not critical issues at all.
What do we share in common with Yemen?
Huh? No. Don't bring...
Russia.
Listen. You being academic, let me tell you what is going on. And it will really serve our viewers well to know what is happening. We are there because of Ebola. And you saw what happened yesterday. Isn't it good news that Uganda is Ebola free?
It is.
It is. Now, when we build from there, And this is based on science and the work Uganda has done over the years in fighting epidemics, which is recognized internationally. The next step, you're going to see these countries relaxing their travel advisories. It's going to follow.
No. Okay. At what stage, you know the dynamics that play out, at what stage is a country put on level 4?
At the stage where the country that is imposing the advisory feels that there is a real threat of their citizens being endangered by that situation, and Ebola was a real threat. You know,
there's no Ebola in Russia. We are bundled with Russia.
Those are different. Of course, countries have to be put together on an advisory, okay, for different reasons. And in the Ugandan case, it was Ebola. It was because of 3 reasons. Can I state them? Ebola, Ebola, Ebola.
Crime.
No. Ebola,
terrorism.
Ebola.
No, I think you're running away. You're running away from other issues that were raised.
No. Those issues have always, even when we are level 2, why don't you do this, Simon? Even when we are level 2, do a bit of research, and it's not difficult. Even when we're on level 2, those variables were there. Yeah.
But it's a huge black spot on Uganda. How would you counter it?
No, I mean, we know the reason. Once you know the reason, I mean, Uganda has faced these epidemics before, okay? And we have done. By the way, the only positive thing that will come out of this is Uganda's excellent way of dealing with epidemics. I deal with countries of the global south. Let me tell you, they consult us, other countries, on how to deal with epidemics. You know, because of what we have been able to achieve. Yeah. So Simon, rest this. And I want this program, I'm happy I'm here to explain it, that the advisories was due to Ebola. And Uganda really plays by the rules. Maybe another thing you can argue is that...
Do you take it in bad faith that the US can list us among the extreme countries?
Of course, we will begin to get concerned if they don't listen to us now especially. But 3 months ago, May, when the epidemic was declared in DRC, we understood their concern. We really understood. We were also worried that they might be community spread. You know, but when we discharged our last case in June, July, now 42 days are over, everybody is really happy that this has happened.
Okay, could it be that the reasons that were cited were quite ambiguous and the US didn't labor to give details on what crime means, what terrorism means? And have you taken time to unpack what exactly
we have unpacked this? I know I know what goes into the thinking when travel advisories are being done. I've been around the block for some time, and I know how they reached their conclusion was due to Ebola. Once they added Ebola, it elevated the situation to level 4. That was really, and that's why we've been focusing on making sure that there is no community spread in Uganda, so that we convince everybody that Uganda is safe. And the declaration by the Minister of Health yesterday was really important in convincing the US and others to lift their travel advisories.
Okay. Do you take it that perhaps this was a rushed decision? By the time a country decides and says, we are now at level 4.
In Ebola, in the case of Ebola, and public health experts will tell you that in the case of Ebola, even one case...
Ebola is a scapegoat.
No, it's not. Even one case in a community, even one case, not imported, imported is manageable. In a community, you have to declare it internationally. And countries have to take precautions. Of course, travel advisories are not the best, but countries have a sovereign right to do those. And once they do them, it's our duty to explain that what we have done.
What's wrong with other countries?
Which ones?
That were listed.
I mean, I don't talk on behalf of other countries. The US, you can ask
what do
the
we
US,
have in common?
What
does Uganda have in common with other 21 countries?
Nothing. Of course, DRC were neighbors. They happen to have a serious situation to deal with the border, but they are our neighbors. Others we don't. And it is the US to explain, but in our case, they have explained to us. They have explained to us that their travel advisory is due to Ebola. They have explained to us. Okay?
At what level?
At the highest level. At the highest level.
Okay. The US says it is about, among other things, terrorism, crime, political demonstrations, and discriminatory laws.
No, those have always been there, and we have explained. We have dealt with them. Huh? To use the Uganda word, that's Mozinkade. Ebola is the reason. And they have told us, they have been transparent with us, that level 4 is due to Ebola.
I read a bit of dishonesty in what you're telling me.
No, there is no. So you don't believe.
Okay, Mbozing had been renewed.
Yeah.
The Mbozing had day, if I could go by your word, the old narrative, the rhetoric, has been renewed and created as a reason.
No, the issue of coming up of how travel advisories are reached at is a very complex, and it's US owned. But I'm telling you what they have told us while we're on level 4. That's what they have told us. It's due to Ebola. And they have been part of us. The US has contributed a lot in fighting epidemics in this country, in giving us testing kits, in giving us therapeutics, in giving us all sorts of, they know what is going on. And we're working together to really make sure. And in the coming, I can assure you, in the coming weeks, you're going to see a lot of positive news. And we're also dealing with the DRC situation to make sure that it improves, so that the region is through. We take a regional approach, and our president has taken a Pan-African approach to make sure that we help our brothers and sisters in DRC.
What would it take to do reputational damage on Uganda, having suffered the wrath, having suffered all the bad press?
Reputational damage is not based on propaganda, it's based on what we do. And our fight, you read an article in the New York Times last week about Uganda's fight on Ebola. They gave us A+. I will send you that article. The New York Times reporter was here and went around to Bundubujo and around the border, and he concluded that Uganda's experience in fighting Ebola and epidemics should be emulated worldwide. And he wondered why such a country was not recognized. And this is recognized internationally. Okay? And that's the good press we are going to get. We have suffered, with the travel advisories, with people losing business. That's sad because, it was inevitable because of what was happening across the border, not what was happening in Uganda most of the... But the good news is that the experience Uganda has gained is going to give us a positive press. It's already starting. The New York Times, read the article in the mighty New York Times, really praising Uganda's fight.
No, but do you realize that Uganda has already suffered bad press, and at one moment it was the EU Parliament, which you dismissed, as usual still. That gave us bad press. That gave us bad press.
Temporarily after the elections, with all sorts of propaganda, temporarily. Yeah, and some of our people going there to really undermine.
I think this is denialism.
No, it's not. It's not.
You're just
don't bring again
don't
bring the EU now, where we are with the European Union, I can tell you, on peace and security in the region. Again, on supporting us on global health, on Ebola.
They speak out, and then you dismiss. Yeah, the US has spoken out, and now you're just reducing it to Ebola.
But the US, I'm not reducing it to Ebola. The reason we are on the travel advisory, the reason we are level 4 is Ebola. It's not what you imagine is the reason. And I think we need to respect the process. The Americans are telling us why we're on level 4. And that's what we are working on.
Okay. How costly is it that a travel advisory is issued at level 4?
It's costly.
What is the cost?
It's costly, of course, and inconveniencing. Tourists cannot travel. Investors will think twice to come. But we are going to go. It has been painful, but we are beyond. We are almost out of that. And I think once people know the reasons why that happened, and Ebola will not be here forever, But the country has developed capacity. Epidemics will come in future, okay? But what Uganda has managed to do, the silver lining is that we have capacity to deal with epidemics more, I think, than any other country in the world.
Okay. You're talking epidemics. How about the political questions that have been popping all the time? The US and, of course, big partners have raised red flags on the way politics is being managed here.
No, politics is an internal matter. And there is no country going to impose advisories because of politics in Uganda is going on. We've just had the LC elections yesterday. Politics in Uganda will always be there. Challenges, every politics in the world has challenges, every situation, every country has their own challenges, but it's for Ugandans to sort them out.
Is there a perception of our local politics, of our internal processes concerning to you?
No.
Are they being intrusive?
No. Because I think we have developed the capacity to handle internal matters. Uganda is at peace from Arua to Kisoro. You can drive any time of the day, which most countries don't enjoy, but we enjoy that. It's stable, peaceful. Do we have challenges? Yes, like any other country does. No, politics by its nature is a contestation. But at the end of the day, the country is cohesive.
No, the country is paying the price of political mismanagement, and it's the reason why you're seeing these big powers imposing sanctions.
I think it's a figment of imagination. No, they are not. Which sanctions have they imposed on Uganda?
Travel.
No, which travel?
The US. You can't go to the US.
This is a border.
It's not.
This is a border. This is a border, and it's going to go. And once it's gone, I'll come back here. You will tell me what other reasons are going to be there. I'm telling you. And I think I should talk to my colleagues in the US embassy here, to issue a press release why we're on level 4. And we settle the matter.
I think that's where you should have started. That's where you should have started.
But let me tell you, but they have told us in confidence, not in confidence, and even publicly, I think.
No, the advisory was public.
Yeah.
Why would they engage you privately?
No. I mean, we are countries, we engage, we talk to each other. That's why countries are there. That's why I'm a diplomat. We engage each other. And I'm telling you, with live on TV, that the reason we are on level 4 is due to Ebola. And me and you will agree that what happened yesterday was a game changer. And everybody agrees that we have done a good job fighting Ebola. The next stage is the natural progression of things is for these.
Frankly speaking, do you think there's a lot of work on the platter for the Foreign Affairs Ministry to reverse the bad press that Uganda suffers?
Of course, that's our job, and we do it.
Who is sleeping on the job?
No. I think everybody is awake on the job, and I think I'm telling you, at least me talking on my behalf, I'm always engaging, with the foreign press, with my colleagues in the diplomatic circles of different countries, and Uganda is well understood. On regional politics, this week what we are going to have in Uganda. We have a big summit to determine the future of peacekeeping in Somalia. All the troop contributing countries at the heads of state level are here on Friday. That's a vote of confidence in Uganda's diplomacy, in our role in peace and security.
Yeah, but it's also coming at a time when Uganda is contemplating withdrawing troops from Somalia.
No, because, there is a discussion on we've been there since 2007. And, of course, at one stage, the Somalis have to take a responsibility of running their countries. Okay? And the assessment that will be made on Friday by our heads of state is how Somalia will remain an African country, a friendly, neighboring country, part of the East African community. We trade with them, but the issue of our presence of our troops is going to be discussed on Friday.
Yeah, but I also realize that I'm credibly informed that the funders of the peacekeeping mission have closed their taps, and it's the reason why Uganda is getting
Of course. You can't fund a peacekeeping mission forever. And the discussions in the UN by countries like the US have their misgivings about endless funding. We have to make sure that Somalia has a national army that is working, and Uganda has been contributing to that on training the Somali army, and we have contributed. If you go to Somalia, Uganda is very popular internationally, our role in Somalia. So that's what a country like Uganda is known for, you know, and that's the narrative we should be promoting.
So Uganda is not withdrawing at its volition. It's withdrawing because the funders have stopped.
No. Let's wait what happens on Friday. We're going to have the funders in the room. It's going to be a discussion to determine what we do henceforth together to make sure that Somalia remains stable. You know, terrorist organizations like Al-Shabaab don't take advantage of the gains we have made. You know, I was talking to one of my European colleagues. He said, if our embassy wouldn't be in Somalia if it was not for UPDF. As a Ugandan, when you hear that, you feel proud.
Well, Ambassador Adonia Ebare, we'll take a very short break and then you'll have your parting shot. How is Uganda being viewed in the global eyes? It remains the big question. We'll be back.
And that's it for today. Till the next episode.